official origins, teacher talk, and aspiring actions. All this and more as the Stafford Weekly News starts now. Welcome to the Friday, February 13th edition of the Stafford Weekly News. I'm Randall Williams. This week, we continue our series of interviews with top figures in our city administration. Today, we meet with City Council member Tim Wood to learn about his background and why he chose to run for office.
Well, welcome to another installment of Stafford Scoop, where we get to know our elected officials a little bit better. Today we have Tim Wood, council member. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Robert.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us here. So let's go ahead and start from the very beginning. Tell us about your childhood. What kind of kid were you?
I was blessed to have a really fun childhood. I grew up in Louisiana, a small town called Natchitoches. It's about the same size as Stafford, about 17,000 people in northwestern Louisiana. I grew up in a large family. I have 6 siblings. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a French teacher. And we spent a lot of time outside. We played basketball in the front driveway, played soccer in the backyard. We'd play street hockey in the middle of the street as long as there weren't cars coming. So we played a lot of times outside, a lot of Legos, sometimes arguments and siblings rivalry, but it was a lot of fun.
So no Cajun accent, huh?
No, actually, both of my parents are from Utah. So I'm blessed that I was raised in Louisiana and I got to enjoy the food there growing up, and also at LSU when I was in Baton Rouge. But mom and dad were making different kinds of foods at home.
Well, growing up in Natchitoches, a little small town like that, how did growing up in a little small town like that influence your views on small city life? And does that shape how you feel about being a city council member in a small town like this?
Absolutely. It's interesting. I don't know why. Everyone has random interests, and as a young child, I was super interested in maps. I would spend time in my room just looking at maps, and not only looking at them, also analyzing where could there be improvements. Probably not so environmentally conscious, but I was putting new highways here and there, and sometimes my mom would be so upset because the road atlas that she'd use on road trips back before GPS would sometimes be altered by me. But in addition to that, I was very proud of my city government. It was a beautiful place to live. There were festivals. They have the Christmas festival and all meat pie festivals and all kinds of things going on in town. And I had a chance as a youth to be in the Mayor's Youth Council. And I used to put a little acronym after my name, PNR, Proud Natchitoches Resident. So I was very much reading public notices and seeing what was going on, as a spectator.
Now, I know as a young man you went on a mission to the Dominican Republic.
That's
right?
correct.
And you came back, it clearly had a big impact on you. So what are the lessons that the experience gave you and that still guides you today? And also, what role does faith play in your life?
That's a really important question. I'm glad that you asked it. That mission experience really had a tremendous impact on my life. There are so many good things that have come as a result of making that decision. You know, growing up in the faith that my parents raised me as LDS, I saw it as like a tithing of my life. I had 20 years and I was giving 2 years back to God. But the most important takeaway for me was being able to be with other people, to learn another culture, to get out of my comfort zone and to serve other people instead of just worrying about my day-to-day needs and things like that. And even my studies, which of course were important, I was focusing on serving other people. And a major benefit for me was learning another language. You know, my wife's native language is Spanish, so it was really important that I learned Spanish on that experience.
That's amazing. So, why was Stafford the community where you chose to put your roots down and raise your kids?
Thanks for asking. So, grew up in Louisiana, went to LSU. After I graduated, I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go in. I ended up working, one of the church members in my local congregation had a job at a place called Money Management International. And so I ended up going with that company and transferred over to Houston. And it happens that their branch was in Sugar Land, just down the road. And so one of the places I chose to live was in the Fountains. In 2012 was when I first got to Stafford. And so I loved, back then they actually had a newsletter. Mayor Scarcella and I believe the council back then, they sent out a monthly newsletter. And I was informed, and it kind of reminded me of being in my hometown back in Louisiana. It was clear that the mayor and the council were interested in citizens, and they were touting the projects that they were doing, and that really kind of sucked me in. And so later on, when I ended up getting a job at Stafford Middle School as a Spanish teacher, I decided to move my wife and myself over and to buy a home here in 2016 in Stafford.
Nice. So what ultimately made you decide to run for city council?
Being so involved in the school district, I had an opportunity to rub shoulders with our trustees and also with city council. There were a lot of things I love about our community, but as I started to watch more of the city council meetings, I noticed that sometimes there was a common theme that was kind of, they would listen to people that would come up with problems, and the answer would almost be, we don't have the money for that. And that was frustrating to me, because to me, having studied political science as one of my minors in college, you know, political science to me is about finding solutions to the problems that we face as a society, whether at a local, state, national, or even international level. And so I wanted to get involved to see that people's needs that they brought to the community, we could find solutions to make things better for the whole community. And so that's what really motivated me to get involved.
Well, what do you think has been the biggest thing you've learned in your 2 years now of being on the council?
Great question. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that you can't always have the things that you would like, and you have to learn how to work with other people and build consensus. Yeah. You know, I came in ready to go, ready with all these ideas, and almost time after time that I would bring an agenda item, it got shot down, didn't get passed. And I learned quickly I need to learn to listen, to work with my colleagues, to understand their needs and their perspective. And so I think the biggest takeaway that I've been on the council is learning how to listen and to work with others to build consensus. You know, doesn't mean that our goals need to be watered down, but there's a way to get there, and it's not my way or the highway. You have to learn to listen and work with others.
How do you build trust between the residents and local government to ensure that this is a diverse community? And how do you make sure that all the voices are heard?
I think the important thing is that you're willing to listen and you meet people where they're comfortable. You know, when I had an opportunity to go out and campaign, and even now, meeting people on their doorstep or in front of their garage, listening. Instead of just going there with a spiel about what they may or may not want to hear, what are your concerns? What are you worried about? What would you like to see improve? And taking notes and showing genuine interest, connecting with people wherever they are. I really feel fortunate that because of my profession, I get an opportunity to interact with young people on a daily basis as a middle school teacher and also as a tennis coach. So I'm dealing with parents all the time, and so I feel like that gives me a special connection to the needs of the community and working with that beautiful diversity that makes up Stafford, but also just listening whenever you do have an interaction, being willing to listen.
You talked a little bit about this already, but let's go a little deeper on this. So how do you approach making the tough decisions you have to make when there are competing interests, especially in a political environment like this?
There's been many occasions where I come to a council meeting and I am not sure which way I'm going to vote on something. I look at the agenda item, I research, but ultimately I want to listen as well, especially when we have citizens that show up to share their opinions or that reach out. Also, I listen to my colleagues. At the end of the day, I have to own my decision. So I feel comfortable, but I think an important approach is to be open-minded and willing to listen and to learn. And sometimes I have been persuaded. Maybe I thought I would go a certain way on something and I went a different way. So I think that's an important thing.
Education narration next. We continue our interview with Tim Wood as he talks about Stafford and his career as a teacher at SMSD.
You mentioned you were a financial advisor or counselor. How's that background, how do you, and as a teacher too, how has that influenced your approach to city budgets and spending?
Yes, you know, as a financial advisor, my main role was helping people get out of debt. A lot of people in this country, you know, unfortunately, we're a very consumeristic society, and so a lot of people spend more than they really are making, credit cards and other things, and sometimes unfortunate things like medical debt can really straddle families and cause a lot of stress. And so my role was not only to comfort and to help, but also to organize budgets, find ways where they could cut unnecessary expenses and organize things so they could find a way, a light at the end of the tunnel moving forward. And it definitely has informed my position on the council. Coming in, maybe there's a bit of naivety on my side about the status of the city's finances and finding things, some things are going great. You know, our fund balance is increasing, but our year-to-year tax collection in regards to sales tax doesn't quite meet the needs of our community. So there's a challenge of, it's similar, I guess you could say, for my previous profession, finding a way to prioritize what's most important.
And what do you feel are the biggest challenges that face Stafford?
I think some of the biggest challenges are aging infrastructure. Our community has done a good job, for the most part, of paying our professionals, bringing in excellent people that have done tremendous work serving our community. But I feel like for the last 10, maybe 15 years, our streets, our signs, our drainage have been, although there have been projects, it hasn't been sufficient. And there haven't been sufficient forward-thinking capital improvement plan to regularly be doing maintenance, not just reacting, but looking into the future and preparing and dealing also with the issues that we know. It's not enough to be aware that there's an issue that's a problem. We've got to find the resources to fix them.
And along the same lines again, what gives you the biggest hope for Stafford in its future, and what opportunities should you think the council be focused on?
I think what gives me hope is that I see engagement. Sometimes it can be discouraging when meetings don't have a bunch of people out there, but when you find something that people are really passionate about, they come out, they show up. I think that one of the things that really encourages me the most is when I see the youth getting involved. Recently we had the Kickstart kids came out, all of their parents, all these kids. I know that we have some of the high school teachers that have brought their civics or government classes out here. They've even watched our city council meetings and commented and written essays about those things. So it inspires me to see young people getting involved. Honestly, I want as much engagement from all sectors of our community, because I think the more responsive we are to the citizenry, the better government we'll have.
Okay. Now, as we touched on a little bit, you were a financial advisor. What made you make the decision to change from that career path to go to teaching?
I felt like the opportunities for growth weren't there. And I know it seems strange to go and become a teacher. People know that teachers aren't paid very well, but I feel like it really aligned well with kind of my personality and my skills. Having learned Spanish is something that I was so passionate about, not only the language, but also the culture, being able to give back and share, and connecting with youth. Growing up, I was in Boy Scouts, and even in my many years in church, I served the youth. I was a Boy Scout scoutmaster and things like that. So I feel like I had a good rapport with young people. And so it was a great opportunity for me to kind of use different skills that I had honed in throughout the years of my life and serve my community. So I feel like it's a good fit.
Well, you've taught and coached over 1,000 Stafford students so far. What challenges do you see today for Stafford's youth in both inside and outside of the classroom?
I'm going to be really real with this. I am concerned that the constant update and pushing of new initiatives in the education, the public education, can sometimes, we can lose sight of really connecting with the kids. There are a lot of beautiful things going on at Stafford Municipal School District. We have robotics, we have drones, we have the STEM Magnet Academy, which is top ranked not only for the county, but also for the region. But we also have some room for growth. I've noticed that the math skills of students in middle school, where I'm teaching, every day, is lower, and also the writing skills. And this is a concern for me. I'm also noticing, it can be a good thing or a bad thing that students are relying quite a bit on AI and Google searches instead of, the old school research papers where you're citing your sources. And I really actually am grateful for the recent change with not having personal electronic devices in the hallways, because I'm actually seeing kids interacting with each other, more social interactions. That was a concern I have. People are becoming more isolated, especially since COVID. So I think there's some room for improvement in math and in ELAR, and just social interaction. But these kids are resilient. If you model good behavior, they're going to follow, and giving them opportunities to grow, to learn, to work together, like through sports or other competitions, can really help them a lot.
And speaking of that, I mean, you led us right to this one. How important are sports and the arts for a young person's life, as well as building a strong community?
They're critical.
Yeah.
They're critical because they help with team building. You know, life shouldn't just be a competition. I don't think life would be very enjoyable if it was just a rat race.
Yeah.
I think the joy in life comes from working with others, connecting with other people, and working towards a common goal, not just an individual goal. Of course, we need to have individual goals, and we need to strive individually to do our absolute best. But there's something special about bringing a diverse group of people together to achieve a common goal. And whether it be, you know, UIL academic competitions, playing in a marching band, playing on a tennis team, a football team, whatever the sport may be, that effort that people put in where they're persistent, they're resilient, I think those are skills for life.
What's been the most rewarding thing about your coaching student athletes?
A couple of things come to mind. Of course, state championship with girls doubles is just, I feel so privileged that I was in the right place at the right time. The Carrera family has raised 3 wonderful daughters, all of them top tier tennis players. I also had the opportunity to coach some other amazing players like Dylan Nguyen, and to see those students wear the jersey and I'm the coach of that team be so successful on that level was just really, really rewarding. But I want to share something else. Seeing kids that had no knowledge of tennis, joining the team, giving it a shot, learning, growing, and even if they're not top tier competition, the fact that they want to go out on weekends, and even after they've graduated, I've connected, you know, still with some of these students, to see that want to go out and still play, that just makes me so happy. It makes my heart happy to see that their love for tennis started with something, you know, at Stafford High School.
That's great stuff, man. And you know, we touched back on the being so fluent in Spanish, and now you teach Spanish. What are the benefits you think that come with learning Spanish or any second language?
I think well, obviously communicating is super of an advantage in Texas with so many people who speak Spanish. But anytime you learn a foreign language, it shouldn't just be about grammar rules and vocabulary. It's culture and it's connection. And I think being able to understand your own culture happens when you learn another culture, but also learning to appreciate different cultures. So I think beyond being bilingual, I think being bicultural and has helped me so much to connect with other people. And I think that can be a benefit for anyone that wants to learn another language, regardless of whether it's Spanish or something else.
Conversation concludes next. Our interview with Tim Wood concludes as we discuss family and his legacy.
Well, tell us about your wife. It's Brisa, right?
That's right.
How did you guys meet?
In 2014, my wife had graduated college in Mexico, and she was here visiting her aunt on vacation. And I kind of reluctantly went to this youth or young single adult conference. And she kind of went at the encouragement of her aunt and ended up meeting her there. I was stricken from the very beginning. I think it took a lot more effort on my part to get her on my side, but she was actually not speaking English, you know, straight from Mexico, only speaking Spanish. And my church leader of the congregation had asked me to do the translation. So I actually was doing interpretation, live interpretation of the service, and the only person who ended up using that service, using the headphones, was her. And so that was an opportunity for us to connect afterwards. I actually committed I was going to help her learn English, and I'm so proud of her. She has learned English. She is fantastic. She's passed the TOEFL, which anyone who's touched that test, even as a native English speaker, I've seen some of the questions and had trouble, so it's not easy. But so we really struck it off there at that conference, and yeah, the rest has been just history. 3 beautiful children.
So you literally were whispering in her ear right from the beginning.
That's right. That's
And
right.
speaking of those, I know you're a proud dad. Tell us about your 3 kids.
I have 3 children. My eldest is a junior. I was just with him right at the STEM Magnet Academy for Dads in Discovery, so that was a great program. He's 9, loves science, fascinated by all things physics. I'm sure he's already beyond the knowledge I'm able to share with him, so I'm glad there's things like YouTube where he can learn beyond what I'm able to give. My second child, David, just loves soccer, and he's really good at it. Super persistent kid. He's in the 2nd grade, and then my baby girl, she's a kindergartner. And I'm proud that all 3 of my kids are bilingual. They grew up with Spanish as their first language, but excellent in English, of course, as well. They do well in school. I love spending time with them. I love traveling with them as much as we can, and sharing our interest in being in nature in the forest.
It's a good order too, to have the older brothers. They can look out for little sister.
I'd like to say I planned that, but it was just luck of the draw.
What is your favorite part of being a dad, and how has having them changed you?
Oh, it has definitely changed me. You know, as a missionary, I was thinking beyond myself, but as a father, that responsibility isn't something you can put up like, you know, whatever your job is when you get home. You can't hang up your hat. It's something that's with you constantly. And you love those guys so much, and you do anything for them. One of the things that's most rewarding to me is being able to spend one-on-one time with my kids, whether it be the daddy-daughter dance that I get to take annually my daughter to, or whether it be taking my eldest son who really loves camping out to camp, just the 2 of us, or, you know, taking my other son to a basketball game for a playoff game for Stafford way down in Yoakum, or some random place where they're playing. Being able to connect with my kids, I think that's something that I learned from my own father. He took the time to spend time with us one-on-one, and so those are some of my best memories. And so I want to kind of try to give that opportunity for my kids to connect with them. So it's just a beautiful thing being a father.
How do you balance being a teacher, coach, and a public servant with your family life? It's a lot of irons to be in the fire. Yeah.
It is a lot of irons to be in the fire, and sometimes I got to remember which hat I got to put on. But honestly, it's about priorities, and also leaning heavily on my wife and tag teaming, because there's times when I got to step up and I'm taking care of the kids and I'm cooking dinner, so she can, like last night, so she can be studying for a test that she has coming up, or she's, you know, putting the kids to bed because I'm at a city council meeting. So it's just about balance. But I think when you're really dedicated and you care passionately about these things, you find a way to make it work. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's been doable, and it could not be done without the support of my wife. That's for sure.
If you had a free day to do anything you wanted to do, no limitations whatsoever, what would that be?
I think it would be to be with my family in the woods. I know it sounds strange. My last name is Wood, but there might be something there, maybe some ancestor, I don't know. But to be in nature, to have that calm and the quiet, and just to observe animals and see a beautiful scenery, that's something that I would love to do and I enjoy doing.
What has your family and your students in the community taught you that makes you a better council member?
So much. Every day there's something to learn. It could be from students. Sometimes seeing their reaction to things, I have to check myself and say, you know what? I think there's a better way to do this, or they're not getting it. Maybe I've been doing this for years, but if this particular person doesn't understand something, you have to be willing to pivot and find a way to reach somebody. My kids can say the craziest things as any dad can tell you, right? And they also really demand that you be sincere. They'll call you out when you do things wrong. You know, if you say a bad word, they're going to let you know. And hopefully you don't have to hear that word the rest of your life because you were the bad example. But, you know, I learned so much also from the opportunity to be a city council person. It's a responsibility, and I take it with I feel humbled with the opportunity to represent other people. And I take it seriously in wanting to make the best possible decision and being responsive when people call and they say have an issue, or even they put something on Facebook. I'm looking, I'm listening, and I'm going to try to reach out to do the best I can to represent the needs of our community. That's what got me involved in the first place.
Now, I believe I read that you called yourself a regular guy, a regular person, trying to be a part of the community and help. So
That's right.
What would you say to the people that are skeptical that a regular person can make a difference in local politics?
I think it's important. I don't think that our political system functions the best when we have people that are so far away from certain experiences that most of us regular folks are experiencing. I think there is an important role for people who are well seasoned in certain things and retired and have a lot of free time. Of course, that's a luxury. But most of the people in Stafford are working folks like me. Most of the people in Stafford have families like me. And I think that those interests also should be represented. And so who better to be able to understand than someone who's in similar shoes than yourself to make sure that your interests are seen after, not just those of, those that might have the fortune of having so much free time and not having to work anymore.
Okay, last question. So what would you like your legacy to be as a parent, a teacher, and a public servant?
Well, as a parent, I think that's the most important one. If my kids are contributing members of society, they're kind, they listen, they are bringing good into the world, and just being good people, I'll be so proud of that legacy. In my classroom and as a coach, anytime the spark is put there or a candle is lit and there's someone who wants to pursue an interest, whether it be in Spanish or just learn more about the culture or make connections. For tennis, I've already shared, seeing people that maybe didn't know anything about the sport, but now they're lifelong tennis players.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that bring me tremendous joy. And as a city council member, seeing my community move forward, tough decisions I think are still ahead for our community. We're not out of the woods with all of the challenges that I have found as I've gotten to this opportunity. There's a lot of work to be done. And if at the end of the day our community is a better place, our streets are taken care of, our parks are nice, where kids and families and retirees and everyone are comfortable spending time right here in Stafford instead of having to go somewhere else, I'll be proud of that.
Well, Councilmember Wood, we appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us. It was great getting to know you a lot better.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good talking to you.
Same here.
That's a wrap on our news for this week. Thank you for joining us. For everyone here at Stafford Weekly News, I'm Randall Williams. May all your news be good news.
This program was produced at City Hall of Stafford, Texas, in association with Houston City College.